In this class, you're going to get exclusive access to an unpublished manuscript that my daughter and I put together. And in this, it was some very, very good advice in everyday life type of situations that will be applicable to you.
There'll be a lot of learning points here. How not to become a victim, how to develop your intuition,
How to spot a liar, how to use empathy to put yourself in someone else's shoes, how to identify a cult leader or a narcissist,
how to effectively interview people,
and how to avoid bad people. You'll be able to pick up these little traits and characteristics of these individuals so you have a better understanding of them. I'm going to teach you some of the techniques I've used as a FBI agent, as a criminal profiler, working thousands upon thousands of cases. He says, we don't need a Super Bowl. No, all we need are 2 raindrops. Because we are who we are. Crime is in our heart and our soul. And whatever you do, we're going to keep doing it. When he said that, I started thinking, if they are who they are, if they're not going to change, it's predictable. If they are who they are, we may be able to predict their behavior and cut them off at the pass. You have to be able to control your own body language. Although inside, I have issues. I have obviously, upset about the crimes, but I never let it come across during that process. There are people out there, they're not killers, they're not necessarily everyone's a killer, but you have to be able to recognize that these narcissistic, psychopathic type of individual, they wear different uniforms, they have different stripes, and it could be your best friend or it could be someone you're employed with. And how you recognize it, it's really through knowledge. You can get the knowledge through personal knowledge, through your own personal experiences, or you can get the knowledge from somebody like me telling you some of the experiences that I had in these criminal cases, and then think of how you know somebody who has these traits. He's not a murderer, but he's a boyfriend I had one time who tried to control me and cut me off from my family members here. So you always have to be on the lookout. And particularly manipulators, they have a history of this. And if you have somebody who has bragged about, manipulating others and laughing about it, how they got away with something and how I fooled this person or that person here, you better put your antenna up because they don't grow out of it. Then you're not going to change them. You have to determine what it is that you have that this person may want from you.
People who try to manipulate, dominate, and control you have common traits that you can look for. They include learning your weaknesses and then exploiting them, persuading you to give up something important to you to make you more dependent on them, bringing you out of your comfort zone and places that you are familiar with to have an advantage over you. This can be in any place that the manipulator feels ownership of or in control.
I had a radio show actually in LA I would do on Saturdays. They would tell me that I met this guy, came in, he was like a knight in shining armor. He was very attentive to me. He listened to me and regurgitated back what I was telling him. And I thought I met the perfect man. I ended up in a relationship with this person. Actually, we began living together. And what happened next is that he dominated my entire life. I asked her to what extreme. He said he wanted me to break off contact with my family. He wanted me to take control over my finances. If I didn't listen to him, he would slap me, he would hit me. But he would turn right around shortly thereafter and give me flowers. And so I started to reach a point where maybe it was my fault. Maybe I'm doing something wrong here that's causing him to act like this. So they're kind of like a chameleon, these people, because these narcissistic, this psychopathic personality will convince you it's your fault. And anything that goes wrong is your fault, your fault, your fault. And then guess what happens? Once he has everything he needs, he's going to drop you like a hot potato. He's gone. To ask questions, and analyze what the person is saying. What is their motivation? And asking why, just like I did with all these cases. Why plus how equals who?
And ask what is a relationship with his or her parents. In my experience with violent criminals, both the mother's and the father's behavior influence their children's behavior.
If he says something, my mother was very distant, she was a pain in the ass, I couldn't wait to get out of that. It has an effect on the male. It could be the mother and father, but it's particularly the mother. And this has been proven, not just by me, but statistically, it definitely has an impact on how he thinks and how he thinks about women.
There's a lesson in the case of Charles Manson. You may not be drawn in by a murderous cult, but all of us can be targets of manipulators and not even realize it.
I'm John Douglas, and this is Masterclass.